And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show for the final time. It is Sunday, June 22nd, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. We've never done this before on a strategy show. We have not had a Game 7 in a Finals in the entire time that Awesemo/Stokastic has existed, and now we're here. And I can't lie, this is fun as hell. I hope the game is awesome. I went back today. I watched the fourth quarter of Cavs Warriors from Game 7, which was a very interesting look at basketball from, close to 10 years ago, where you see what basketball is now a little bit, but it's still a very different vibe. Defensively, some of the guys that are on the floor, you see Festus Ezeli out there and you're thinking like, oh shit, is that Tony Bradley today? It's going to be great. I can't wait to watch it. I mean, the Pacers have been one of the more fun stories that you'll find in sports. Because, obviously, I think we could all agree that this was unlikely for the Indiana Pacers. But if you're going to get a team, I mean, they really are sort of like, it's like watching Gonzaga or, insert mid-major here, Creighton. It's like seeing those teams make deep runs in the NCAA tournament, but they play in the most fun way possible. It's really difficult to be anti-Pacers because it's exactly what everybody wants to see. And then on the opposite side, we have what could be a budding dynasty, but it'll feel a little weird if they don't pick up the dub here and the Pacers become the NBA champs. It's going to be fun, guys. It's going to be fun. Yeah, Gonzaga in the 90s, obviously. They're just real now. In 2000s, or like early 2000s, I guess. I mean, either way, a team that, they're drawing a little bit differently. Mark Few turned that into a juggernaut. You got to take it all the way through, like, the Adam Morrison era. It's probably like the last 10 years where they're like a threat. But now we're here, and as weird as it sounds, like we're kind of approaching this in the same way that we did for Game 6, in that, like, we don't know what Tyrese Halliburton is. He seemed, by all accounts, mostly fine in Game 6. They definitely put him on ice a bit. He did not have the ball in his hands nearly as much. The thing that I thought was a little surprising, and it was interesting to me to see Zach Lowe talk about it immediately after the game. He was surprised that they didn't attack Halliburton more. I completely agree. I was surprised they weren't trying to get him into actions more. Is he better now today than he was 3 days ago? I don't know. It probably helped quite a bit that he only had to play like 22 minutes because they beat the shit out of them in Game 6. But we don't know how he is. I'd say that I think we could all probably come to the same conclusion that, like, if he's more compromised today than he was in Game 6, it's going to be hard for Indy to get anything done. It just completely changes the scope. If he can be out there and move around enough and find himself the opportunity to get some looks, then I think they can be okay. But this should be a very different vibe than we had on the past game. Where we end up today, though, I just want to watch basketball. Now, in terms of ownership, this is going to look pretty damn similar to everything we've seen so far. SGA at $14,400. And very clearly the most owned guy on DraftKings. 75% overall, 23% at the captain. When people can do it, they're still getting to SGA. He's pulling more ownership at captain and more ownership at utility than anybody else. That shouldn't be surprising. The biggest raw point ceiling by a mile. I mean, what do we have him projected for over the rest of these guys? How am I not logged in? Should be perma logged in. So SGA is projected for 14.5 more fantasy points than anybody else. And that right there is the reason you see this giant gap. And then you get to the two other OKC guys. Right around 55% ownership for Chet at 8,400, right around 55% ownership on J-Dub at 10.8. Similar captain, similar utility. Obviously, J-Dub with a couple higher point extra projection, but the $2,400 gap in salary helps to negate that. I think it's a huge day for Chet, but it's more about Chet's decision-making than his play. If Chet will limit the times that he tries to go through Miles Turner and try to take advantage of, one, either anytime he gets anybody else, I think they need to be looking for Chet, because he's going to beat every other matchup other than Miles Turner. I think we've seen that so far. The only success he finds is when he doesn't go at Turner. Can they set some screens to free him up and get some cross matches so that they can get him away from Turner more? I don't know. But I think that will go a long way for OKC unclogging their offense a bit. I'm a big believer in Chet today if OKC covers. So we'll talk about what we think about that there. I think the guy that we need to talk about most is the fourth most owned guy on today's slate. And that's Miles Turner. Miles Turner is 5,600 today. 48% owned, 8% captain, 40% utility. I mean, I, for one, didn't expect that low of a price tag. Now, we're talking about a guy that has not been able to buy a bucket in this series. I'm going to pull it up just because I don't have it off the top of my head any longer. There was a point in time where I did, but he is shooting next level bad from three. 166 minutes, 5 for 25 from three in this series. A crisp 20%. That is another gigantic swing piece. Does Miles Turner just make shots at a normal clip? Because it's not like he's been taking contested threes that are tricky. He's stepping into primarily open looks. What does he end up doing? I don't know. I mean, I've been a big Miles Turner guy for years. I have won since, he was in trade talks for 5 straight years. I wanted him to go to every team. I wanted every team to try to get him because floor spacing, shot blocking big men don't really exist. But 20% from three could be a death sentence. Now, I know people have been very anti-Chet in this series, which, I get to a degree. Offensively, Chet has been a real big problem in this series, at least against Miles Turner. Let's not forget what happens on the opposite side of the ball, though, because I've been seeing a lot of Chet slander, and some of it is warranted, but it's too broad brush. The Pacers are scoring 104.5 points per 100 possessions in the 180 minutes Chet has been on the floor. That's replacement level offense basically. When Chet is out there, the Pacers aren't converting. Again, 104.58 points per 100 possessions. For reference sake, so people can understand what those numbers mean. We'll take a look at the league defensive ratings for the season, just to put this in perspective. So we take a look at the offensive and defensive ratings for the regular season this year. 106.6 was the lowest offensive rating in the season. That was the Washington Wizards. Again, 106.6. For the 180 minutes that Chet has been on the floor, the Pacers are scoring 104.6. 2 points worse than the Wizards. So we can shit on Chet's offense if we want to. We should not be shitting on his defense. Because when he is out there, he is still anchoring a team that is stopping the Pacers in their tracks. Now, offensively, not going Chet's way, because much like Miles Turner, Chet Holmgren is also someone that can't seem to make a three to save his life. 2 for 17 from three. He's shooting just under 12%. And what's really funny is I can picture his makes and they feel more plentiful, which is interesting. Cool. Thanks for being here, man. Really excited to have you. Fun guy. No one has been more wrong about this series than Josh, or everybody that talks about it, considering they were massive favorites. What are we talking about here? Yeah, apologies. I didn't get the sweep right. The entire universe was wrong. And for the record, not that anybody cares, I don't mind being wrong in individual games. There's a lot of variance in these outcomes. I'm going to say some wild stuff on these shows because it's more fun to poke chat. If you're asking me who I think wins any of these games on any given day, I think it's whatever the line is. When I'm on this show, I'm going to speak in absolutes because it's funnier. If you're truly asking me what I think are going to happen in these games, I'm going to go by whatever the damn money line is because there's $2 billion wagered on this series in this game. McConnell was supposed to be unplayable. That's an interesting one because in theory, he should be unplayable. We've seen it in prior years where the minutes go away as the series gets more and more difficult. I don't want to undersell McConnell because ultimately it's just like whatever you do is the outcome. Like, you can only know so much before it happens. And he has stepped out onto the floor and been an absolute game changer for the Pacers in a couple of these games in the finals. He changes the energy in a way that like is pretty much unquantifiable. But he is also playing so far over his head that we need to be realistic about what that means when you try to predict the next game. It's not like we should just assume that TJ McConnell is Steve Nash now. Look, I've been playing the shit out of TJ McConnell for the past 3 games. He's well over the field in at least the last 2 and at least with the field the game before that. But I mean, we're talking about a guy. Let's take a look at it here. because this is the weirdest thing you're going to see. He is 13 of 24 from the short mid-range, 4 of 9 from long mid-range. He's knocking them down. The dribble penetration has been great. When he gets to the paint, he's kind of like the perfect counter to OKC's defense, because on his cuts, OKC's guys tend to stay home a little bit more, and that's allowing those guys to fill McConnell's space after he does his dribble penetration, Steve Nash style dribble under the rim stuff. It's been opening things up. It absolutely has. However, we should also keep in mind 106.5 offensive rating for the Indiana Pacers when TJ McConnell's been on the floor. That's the Wizards still. Little interesting to me. Is that just me? Kind of feels weird. But we got TJ today sitting at 5,800, 29% owned. Seems like a completely reasonable play to me. I mean, this whole area, this is where you figure out who wins today. Neesmith at 5K, Nembhard at 6K, Dort at 4K, Toppin at 5,400, Caruso at 6,400, TJ McConnell at 58. I guess we can lump in Isaiah Hartenstein here at 5,200. That range right there is going to be, you're probably going to need 2 of those dudes. And so much of this is just going to come down to who made the shots they were able to take. Does Dort hit a couple more of those moon balls? I think he's taken more threes than anybody in the playoffs so far by like a pretty significant margin. Do they fall? Is Halliburton guarding Dort again? Do they use Dort more to try to get Halliburton in the actions? Do they try to switch that up in any way? Do they try to bring Dort up for screens to try to get SGA to Halliburton? Because they're going to do whatever they can to get Halliburton out of any sort of isolation settings. They're going to try to scram him out. They're going to try to rotate him in some way that they don't get him in those actions. And then you've got guys like Benedict Mathurin, who barely played in the blowout last time out, 3,800, always live to hang a monster score. Wiggins is sitting there at 2,400. He's been atrocious defensively, but the third best shot creator on the team behind SGA and J-Dub. If they have spots where they need offense, he's been the guy that has to make up for the lack of Chet or the lack of anybody else. I'll tell you what, as every one of these games has gone further in this series, it makes me feel more and more, I don't want to say correct, but they really needed another guy that could create their own shot, and they had the opportunity to go get something like that at the deadline. My boy, you bet the sweep and you said this was a horrible series for McConnell. What's been going on? It didn't happen? I don't know. Let's also keep in mind the TJ McConnell is dead neutral for this series. Yes, he's playing great individually. It's the same thing as Chet, but in reverse. It's so weird. And I would not like Anthony Simons in this series at all. That would be they might, if you want to go to Anthony Simons, you might as well just go to Aaron Wiggins. Why does OKC continue to play Caruso? Because he's one of the greatest defensive players that have ever existed on the perimeter. Why would they not play Caruso would be a more interesting question for me. How do you not play Alex Caruso? For the record, I mean, how does OKC not play Caruso? I don't mean how do you not play him in DFS? You could very easily not play him in DFS, but yeah, there's no way you don't play him. You know who definitely wouldn't be playing? Josh Giddey. So much of, like, if Oklahoma City is just smarter with the ball, like the turnovers that TJ McConnell creates by stealing inbounds passes, like, yeah, you want to give McConnell the credit for doing that. At the NBA level, OKC should never struggle or never be doing that. And they've done it 5+ times so far. That should never happen. Those are points that get accrued that just shouldn't exist in NBA Finals games. To me, that's more of like ripping a forehand into the net. Coach Chris, it will be insane if they don't get here again, whether they win this game or not. Whether they win or lose today, they will have the clear top odds to win the NBA title for 2026. Clear. We got to remember that they're ahead of the game. You've never seen a team wet the bed like this in the finals. We watched Golden State blow a 3-1 lead 10 years ago. This is a team that hasn't had to take, like, these are all the first real punches in the mouth, tough series stuff. They're just they're a year and a half ahead of where they're supposed to be. We've seen this for the history of the NBA. You tend to get here in stages. You get in, you get wrecked early, you come back the next year, you get a little deeper, you stretch a series, you come back, you have one more to get over that hump, and then you're there. They're early. All of these guys are basically playing the most high leverage stuff they've ever done before. I think this series going the way that it did, and the Denver series going the way that it did, is terrifying for the league next year and the year after that, because they're going to see it now. They know how to prepare for it. They know what it feels like. They know what that is going to be. And if they are able to pick up the dub today, I think that's terrifying moving forward, because they will have dealt with the adversity, overcome it, and now you head to the next year as the overwhelming favorites without another team even really being in sniffing distance from an odds perspective. It's going to be, it's just fun to see. Quick question from a relative newbie. How much stock do you put into player correlation when hand building lineups? Basically zero. Not that you can't. I just think it's a really blurry deal. Let's see. What do we got? El Flaco, that makes no sense. How can you be an MVP and your team can't score a basket for the entire third quarter? I mean, I think the Pacers are doing something about that. Yeah, Steven, like that was massive, like, character building. It just sort of depends on, look, a lot of people are going to write and talk about the result of this game as if, like, we should make sweeping generalizations based on the result. We know what OKC is, whether they win or lose today. We know what the Pacers are, whether they win or lose today. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to watch a great basketball game. Whoever wins, it's awesome. Do I want OKC to win because I think they're the better team? Yeah, I do. Will it be awesome if the Pacers win the NBA title given this entire playoff run? Yeah, it's going to be sick. Like, I don't care about I just want to watch a good basketball game today. Yeah, now it do make sense. Pacers not going to be in the finals, so they let them get the championship. Whew. Man, there are times where I wish I'd turned off chat. Josh reminds me of Eric Fede. That's okay. I'll search it. That's a weird one. Yeah, I could see that. I guess. I could see that. Yeah, that's an Einsteinium. That's a pretty decent part too. I think this is massive for Mark Dagnall as well, because he's going up against a wizard on the opposite side in Rick Carlisle. And look, it's an iron sharpens iron thing. If you want to get better, you generally need to go up against something that is better than you. And I think that's great for Mark Dagnall moving forward. We'll see what it means for today. Jay Jenkins. I'm glad I was able to figure that out, because that could have easily been some like Indian name and I wouldn't have known. But I don't think the rotations are going to get super tight because of the effort that both of these teams play on both sides of the ball. But I do think you probably see, or at least you should expect something like an extra minute or two for SGA, Chet, J-Dub, Siakam, Nemhard. NBA fake and you think it's a bad take. Man, I just can't imagine going through life like that. Oh, that's how not fun is that? Yeah, like that you're in a simulation. It's going to that story of, because we'll forget all the context of all of this will disappear eventually. But if we do look back at this after an OKC win, 68 win regular season, boat race, net rating, number 1 seed, wins the title, it's going to look like a great touchstone when it's done. And then if it's the Pacers, if it's the Pacers, it's going to feel a lot like the Toronto title without getting Kawhi. It's just going to feel like one we don't talk about, I think. I think so much of this, just like I did for Game 6, comes down to Halliburton. I never saw his health coming in the way that it went, especially in that first 2 minutes, because he got hobbled a little bit on the baseline. I shouted it out on the playback stream. And like from that point forward, I never saw him like really like touch it or wince or anything like that. Chrome Heart. Yeah, he was slow to the season. That's part of the reason that I was light in my preseason predictions for predictions for the season. I didn't know what Halliburton we were getting, because he had this injury problem for most of last year. It was up and down. When he's at his best, he's one of the best offensive players on the planet. When he's not, it becomes an issue. And I just didn't know how many games he was going to play, how healthy he was going to be. I was a believer if he was healthy, because I think he runs the show. If SGA chokes, I never want to hear about how good he is. Well, that's a terrible way to look at basketball. That's pretty unfun. If somebody loses in the NBA Finals, they must suck. Everybody else is probably good that didn't make it here, but the one guy that made it to the finals, man, what a piece of shit he must be. We got to stop thinking that the only thing you could do is win a finals or you're dog shit. It's a really bad way to try to describe what we're watching here. Like, does Giannis suck? Should we not talk about how good he is? They didn't win anything this year. Why don't we talk about how he sucks? Jokic isn't in the finals. Does he suck? Should we stop talking about how good he is? We got to stop this, guys. We really do. They're in the finals. Win or lose, these guys are great. Yeah, maybe that sends you into the lab to work harder, to make some changes to the sides of the rosters, to try to make this a little bit better. Jordan 6 of 6 is the standard. It's not. It's not. It only is for people that don't actually want to have this conversation. But it's the standard for only situations where people don't want to actually talk about it correctly. Just out of curiosity, why isn't the standard Bill Russell winning 11 titles? Because that doesn't fit the narrative of saying that it's Jordan? Right? Am I getting that correct? Figured as much. We don't have to only use the things that we agree with. Andrew, correct. Watching greatness before our eyes. We should just enjoy it. Yes. Yes, we should. Yes, we should. Bill Russell is 45 and 25 in the NBA Finals, won 11 titles in 12 years. If something's a standard, it's got to be that one. There's only one standard, and it's Bill Russell. We also need to remember that every year that goes by, every year, it will be harder and harder to win titles, and it's harder and harder to stay with a team and continue to do that. We need to remember how much more difficult it is to build a team now than it was 25 years ago. There are no first aprons and second aprons and wild luxury tax calculations. It's a very different environment. It is infinitely, to win one now is like worth 3 in 1981 because it's a completely different scenario for team building. The talent is higher, so the variance is higher. The league is bigger. The league is more difficult. And the roster building is the biggest problem in all of it. None of that can be fixed by individual talent. No more super teams, so LeBron should retire. Yeah. I really don't know why we look at Michael Jordan this way. We can just talk about how awesome he was without just saying dumb stuff, can't we? Can't we just do that? I'll tell you what, it was crazy when the Bulls got Dennis Rodman. I totally blanked out the 10 years that he played for the Bulls before he got there. So why you think my take of the NBA giving the Pacers a ring for the first time, knowing OKC is going to be there, then nobody gives anybody anything. It's so silly. So silly. Where do I have Jordan all time? What's the question? Because I think there are two answers. I think it is undeniable that LeBron James has had the greatest NBA career. I mean, he's going to play like 30,000 more minutes. I mean, the amount of all NBA teams, the breadth of work, there is no argument. The greatest NBA career is very easily LeBron James, if we're taking like degree of difficulty into it. If we don't want to do that, I'm happy to say that it's Bill Russell. If we're talking about a peak, it's probably Jordan for me. We are too okay with the 18 months of baseball. But as I look at it, like career-wise, it's just there's too much volume of LeBron. To be under the media scrutiny to be on Sports Illustrated as the chosen one or the next one or whatever it was in 2002 and be an all NBA player in 2025, there's nothing you could do there. They put him on a pedestal as a 17-year-old kid, and he checked off every box and then some 20 years later. It would be an interesting conversation if Jordan just never leaves to play baseball. I'm fascinated by what the conversation ends up being. Because it changes everybody's arguments. Imagine if Jordan played 25 years. Yeah, but, he didn't. He had to quit twice. All right. Okay, Flacco, goodbye. I'll talk to you next year. Put user on timeout for 24 hours. That will guarantee that I don't have to see you again. Goodbye. See you next year. Do I think Jordan loses to Houston? I mean, I don't want to say it like that, but like clearly the second three-peat and those 2 years, you're not just running out 5 titles. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Let's build a lineup. I want to see what it looks like. Let's pop into the single lineup simulator for the final time in this NBA season. Let's see what we have here. How many minutes does Caruso play? I don't know, 20 to 36. Something like that. Today is the ultimate whatever is working continues to work thing. Congrats on that one, Daniels. I didn't think anybody could say anything dumber, but you came in here swinging, trying to be the dumb champion of the world. All right, captain. I'm obviously going to dodge Shea for this build. Siakam makes a lot of sense, given the sub 10% ownership. I think J-Dub is the one I want to click on, though. That will easily give me Siakam. And now the question becomes, is it Shea or Chet? And I'm going to go Shea, which means I need to find some value piece that I actually like today. Now, Daniels, it doesn't. It doesn't, because it implies that losing in the finals should count against you. Where do I go for value? I'm going to try Kenrich, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. That's going to give me two pretty crap value plays here. It gives me Tony Bradley and Miles Turner and 1,200 on the table. This is not going to grade out well. This isn't going to grade out well. Yeah, no, I didn't think so. I don't like that double pay down scenario. J-Dub, Siakam, and Shea is a tough build. What does it give me if I just use that? Wiggins, Toppin, Bradley. I don't like that. I don't like the Bradley piece. I'm very nervous for him today. Yeah, this takes me down a very difficult path. I might have to bail on Siakam here. Where's Siakam hiding? All right, so Siakam here. What if I go to a more balanced Pacers? What if I go like Toppin, Nembhard? And then that gives me Turner, Wiggins, spends the full freight. Snuck back into the nearly good. I'll take 2.4%. It's really the SGA piece, but admittedly, I feel very nervous not having SGA in a lineup. But I mean, the price is so high that it becomes a problem. What if we go with Siakam and Chet and we fill that out without SGA? That gives me Dort, Turner, Nesmith, 200 on the table. No SGA, but no pay downs either. I think this should be pretty good. %13%. Okay. I'm pretty happy with this one. J-Dub captain, Nesmith, Chet, Dort, Turner, Siakam. 3-3, no SGA, no Halliburton. Okay. I don't mind that build. Let's see what shakes free on FanDuel before we get out of here. Back for live before lock later tonight. And then playback for game 7. I will be here watching the entire game. Let me make sure I got the schedule for you guys. Because we also have MLB live before lock coming up at 12:30. That's going to be Emac and Bellman. But I will be back for live before lock at 7:30. And then we'll be live on playback at 8 o'clock. Einsteinium, I would not be surprised if Isaiah Joe doesn't see the floor today. He's not a guy that I would play a single second of. All right, let's see. MVP, FanDuel. I think that's got to be... Tyrese Halliburton. What happens if Tyrese Halliburton is that dude? What does this lineup end up looking like? Let's see if we can get SGA, Chet, Miles Turner, Caruso, Nembhard. 2,400 on the table? No chance this is going to be a good lineup. Turns out wrong. 67% sim ROI. Halliburton captain, Nembhard, Chet, Caruso, Turner, SGA. We're going to leave on that note. Jordan was better in all three aspects of what do you mean? In my mind, I think you're going offense, defense, but I don't know what the third thing is. So then I don't think that it's offense, defense. All right. Final thing we're going to do. Haven't done it yet on the show. Poll is up. Who wins Game 7 of the NBA Finals? I love seeing Eric upset, but some of y'all comments are just wild. Well, I'm Josh. Very curious to see where this poll goes before we get out of here. Man, I'm going to be sad. No basketball till October. July, August, September, October. 4 months from now, we'll be back. Well, right now on Polymarket, it's sitting at 70-30 Thunder. Right now, the poll is sitting at essentially 70-30 Thunder. Feels like we're pretty spot on here. Guys, we're going to have some fun tonight, so be ready. Get your game faces on, get your lineups ready for 7:30 tonight. We're going to roll in. We're going to hit 30 minutes of live before lock, and then we are going to lock in for the first NBA Finals Game 7 in close to 10 years. It's going to be an event. If you're not coming to watch with us on Playback, what are you thinking? Where else would you rather be than right here with us? Playback.tv/Stokastic. And as always, if you want to sign up for anything at Stokastic, baseball's not going anywhere. We got baseball every day. Where's Greg at? I don't know. Somewhere else? If this game don't go to OT, I'm going to be sick. If this game goes to OT, I'm going to be sick. I don't want that stress in my life. It's going to be panic-inducing. No draft video. I don't give a shit about the NBA draft. Other than Ace Bailey sucks, and whoever takes him, he's going to stink. That's all I got. But yeah, I don't care about the draft at all. Meaningless discussion about guys we don't know anything about. Cooper Flag will be good. That's all I got. See you guys at 7:30.